Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, June 21st, 7:56 p.m. I've been debating whether to talk about this just yet or not, but I think it's time. I mentioned it in previous posts that I've been working on one of my goals of feeling my feelings when I need to feel them. Unfortunately, or fortunately, in the process, a lot of repressed anger has been coming up. You see, and this is not the trauma dumping, or victim mentality, but I have gone through quite a bit. And if anything, this is underreacting. But at the same time, the part of me that is finally coming to terms through all the things that happened to me it's gaining its voice, you can say. So whenever similar things are coming up right now, it's like that angry little boy that's inside is coming to the surface. And I mean, for the longest time, I kept him in check because of how I realized that, I didn't have a good control over my emotions. And if anything, today proved that I had a little bit of a setback and that I have been right to some extent to kind of look the other way when things happen to me for the sake of not making them worse. But as I spoke to my therapist this past Friday, that is a problem. And that is why my goal has been to feel my feelings when I need to feel them, because the end result of not feeling them when I needed to feel them was a bottling of the feelings. And although as I've gotten better in my self-healing, I've managed to grow the bottle, but the effect still happens the same. Now, luckily, in some weird way, when the explosions do happen, even though the bottle has been growing, the explosions have had the opposite effect. They've still been pretty bad, don't get me wrong. Today was an example of it. But proportionally speaking to the amount of additional volume of that proverbial bottle, they've been getting smaller and smaller. Fuck it. Today, there was an altercation with an individual that's living in our house. If you know of my particular family, please keep this to yourself until we can figure something out. I don't want this to escalate, but I need the audience to understand that this is serious. And again, this is not, if anything, it's underreacting. I've put up with a lot from this individual for the sake of my mother. They met a long time ago, and they are essentially best friends, living with us. But he has a tendency of treating us like servants, especially when he's upset. He becomes very belligerent and has used things like, we should go back to Mexico. Let's put it that way. Okay? And for all intents and purposes, he depends on us. But I look the other way because of my mother, because he, for all intents and purposes, and why, I don't know, he is her best friend. And I made a lot of allowances because of his past, of how he was thrown out of his home when he was a kid, the falling out with his friends. But at some point you have to recognize accountability, that part of the things that had happened to him were his fault. And let me paint a picture. Let's start off with the biggest one. One time he said, literally, word for word, if there's grass on the field, play ball. Take what you will from that. Move forward. I was dating a guy. He knew about the guy. And he took the guy. Showered him with gifts. And also some other stuff. Not only that, and this wasn't the first time, it wasn't the only time, this was the first time. He confided in me that this individual wanted to have a three-way with him and me. I brushed it off as odd. But later on, when he had his own boyfriend, he told me the same thing. Now, this doesn't speak well of me, but move forward. I tested this information because I was pissed at him. I forget exactly why. Probably for the same reason why what happened today. But I got a hold of the number of the boyfriend. I asked him if he wanted to mess around. Obviously, the guy wasn't prepared. Now, had what this individual had told me, that this individual wanted a three-way too, don't you think he would have been more than ready for it? So something, and it always bothered me, why two specific individuals wanted a three-way with me? Which shows to me that he has no respect for boundaries. Not only that, but many years ago, I got word through the grapevine that he hit on one of my brother-in-laws. And recently he's been, I don't know if it's dementia that's starting to set in or what the hell's going on, but he's been very belligerent with my mother, and that's what happened this morning. I told him to tone it down, and I threw in his face, yes, it was a setback. But I don't regret it anymore because I'm done. I told him, you depend on this family. And if it wasn't for us, you would be in a ditch somewhere. And it's true. Now to this, he started to threaten me that he would unearth the buried bodies, as the saying goes. To which I responded, well, you can, but that just means you are an accomplice. Take what you will from that. I'm not saying, I never said I was a saint. And I think that's part of the shortcoming of Mexican culture, that we keep our mouths quiet to keep the peace. And I think I kept my peace for too long. If anything, I had a choice, yes, but a lot of the fights with my mother were in part because of him and other members of the family that were taking advantage. One niece pointed out that I was basically isolating my mom. To that I say no. I'm just getting rid of the leeches. Emotional leeches, financial leeches, all this stuff. And time again, my mother keeps saying the same thing, that these have been the most calmest, peaceful times in her life. And now that I went to Mexico, she realized and confided in me for the first time, I think, in my whole life, how much I contribute. So to this individual who basically said that I'm a loser by choice because I'm here for my family. The needs of this particular family are that much that I need to stick around. And I've sacrificed my own life for them. as I said, now that I'm finding my voice, I'm finding it unbearably unacceptable to keep putting up with bullshit. I gave people too much of benefit of the doubt for way too long. Yes, I'm grateful to them because I learned something about human nature and was able to apply it with others who would be my oppressors, people who would try to pull the same kind of shit on me. I saw them a mile away and cut ties as soon as I could because of individuals like this one. That's the only reason why I put up with people like him. That, and in this particular case, because of my mother. Sorry. I had an alert. And see, that's the thing with people like me. We'll put up with your bullshit for a long time and let you make that rope long enough well, you know the rest. The point is, I am done cowing down to other people who are not appreciative or act right. Period. But my task now, and it's like I mentioned, is one of my goals with my therapist, is to be able to engage in these type of conflicts where it's specifically when it's a deep-rooted conflict, and not resort to what I resorted to today. Because I threw at him every single fault of character. Every single instance of him losing a friend, I threw it back at him. No, it wasn't alright. It was me trying to neutralize a narcissist, but I realized that he was right. I'm a narcissist too. It was out of necessity that I had to become a narcissist to be able to neutralize people like him, to be able to avoid people like him. Unfortunately, I became like him. And I recognized that. And in the process, I did hurt innocent people. People who may have wronged me, but not to the degree that they deserved what they got. And I'm trying to rectify that now. So I am taking accountability. And I'm trying to figure out how not to let these type of people get to me. And I think for the next foreseeable future, I need to process all these things that these people did to me. Not just him, but other people. And if you're listening, you know who you are. I will not seek you out. The only difference with this particular individual was he pushed it. He crossed that line. So I closed down my empathy for him. And now he is a stranger and will be treated accordingly. For those of you who are listening who have wronged me, I will not seek justice. But if I find out you're still trying to hurt me, then just be prepared. If anything, I will try to process what you did to me on my own time, so I can move past it. But make no mistake, I don't trust you, And I don't want you in my life at all. I may have not acted properly because I didn't have the emotional tools that I needed. I'm getting them still, little by little. But I have made a determination that I do not want people like you in my life anymore. I am done with people like you. It's been a long road, and these type of individuals have made my work so much harder. I've had to work 2-3 times harder to heal myself and to not become bitter and to still have hope in love and in friendship. Right now, a side effect of all this hurt is that I'm running into people from my past and I don't know whether I should trust them or not. And they didn't do anything. It's just part of me just wary of people in general, of how nasty they can be to each other only for having a light, living their own lives. And yes, I know that in the past, I didn't handle conflict well. I was passive aggressive. But some of these people, I was just enjoying my life. I had nothing to do with them. For whatever reason, they chose to come after me. And I let them. And I saw exactly what they were doing every step of the way. I was seeing what they said, what they didn't say, how they said it, when they said it, where they paused, the expressions in their face, their body language, all of it. I saw all of it, especially when they were talking about other people. But at the beginning, yes, I was quote unquote naive. But later I caught on, and I continued to play the naive part. And for the longest time, when I was at my lowest, I wanted to be that naive kid again. So I continued to be naive because that naive kid was the most peaceful version of me. That's why I continued to be that person. Not because of you, not to lay out a trap, but because I wanted my peace, and you wouldn't let me have it. And now, as the last years of, or days, weeks, or months, I don't know, of my mother's life come to a draw, I'm just trying to enjoy my time with her. So I do not appreciate people coming up in my home and acting a fool. I'm just trying to enjoy my mother for once, like I did in my first 10 years, before everybody had to come here and dump their bullshit on my mother and push me aside, leaving me to figure out the world by myself. Not only that, but criticizing me for everything, how I spoke, how I dressed, how I acted, my interests, all of it. I don't know what gave you the right to go after an individual for existing and making them, or contributing to making them, because it was my choice too, to becoming that version of me who became nasty and catty. But I want to say that again, it was in self-defense. It wasn't productive. It was the opposite. It was counterproductive. It hurt me in so many ways, but it also taught me many things about myself and how not to act. And eventually got to the point where I learned how not to take it out on innocent bystanders. Yes, in recent years, I've learned to redirect it at other assholes that I knew I could, quote unquote, win the battle, to give them their cosmic karma, if you will. But people want to play stupid games, they will get stupid prices. And yes, I recognize that that is also counterproductive. And I'm struggling to try to, keep with the teachings of Confucius, Plato, and the 12 steps, where they say you can only control yourself. That's it. Period. And part of me understands that, and I want to walk away and not be victim of the hero complex of trying to step in for other people. But there's too much hate out there that part of me just cannot let go. There's too many bullies out there. And I do understand where it comes from. But it's no excuse. People are too comfortable being nasty for no good reason. And in these past few days, I caught myself that I was becoming nasty again after my little hiatus of about a month in Mexico. You see, whenever you expose yourself to negative things like TikTok, the algorithm will push whatever you're looking. I started to catch myself becoming again irritable, and I think that's what set off this particular fight this morning, that I wasn't having it. He went off on my mom for a simple thing, and I went off on him because he's been doing it a lot lately. You know, he gets irritated with my mom and snaps at her very nastily, and I'm sick of it. And so me letting myself, disappointing myself in falling a trap of the social media bullshit, you know, with this, black boycotting of Asian businesses and women against men's issues and, the political news and all this other stuff, I let it get to me. I doom scrolled for too long. And the saddest part is I knew what was happening while I was doing it, but it was almost as if I was addicted, that I couldn't pull myself away. And that's something that it's kind of standing out more to me, that I need to take more and more breaks away from social media because it is toxic as fuck. There's too much negativity out there. Everybody has to give their opinion like it fucking matters. It doesn't. Like I said, the only thing you can change is yourself. So why are we all collectively out there giving our 2 cents instead of actually showing up, rolling up our sleeves, and doing something about our particular interests? Period. I don't see people out there showing up to whatever they're ranting about. Their videos of them showing up. I show their commentary, but that's where mostly it stops. I mean, for this black business issue, I have yet to see individuals filming themselves going into black business buying. I hear them that they're going to do, but I haven't seen the proof that they actually done it. I have seen, Asian people get offended by this and talk about, the wasteful nature of these prank calls on Asian restaurants. But none of them have stepped up to say, you know what, I'm going to go there and buy this wasted product and give it to the homeless or something to that effect. I don't know if that's happening in my particular town. Recently, in this past few years, more and more black people have been coming to our town. I don't know if any of them have been doing this. I can call the business and see. Right now I'm broke, so I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but, I should be paid hopefully tomorrow. And I'll probably give them a call and see if any of this has happened to them. Take that food off their hands and give it to the homeless. But there's negativity out there, and I don't see any solutions from anybody that's actually rolling up their sleeves and doing something about it and showing it. All I see is the negative part, the bitching. And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That I'm tired of this. That part of me is tired of looking the other way. Of this hypocrisy in this world. The unfairness of people doing horrible shit to one another. I mean, think about it in the regards of the black business stuff. You don't know if the business you're hurting is even like that. You may be calling a business that you have not visited, and the people there could be earth angels for all you know, and you're fucking them over by placing fake orders. People don't stop to think that kind of stuff. If you've gone to that business and they've been total dicks to you, then maybe it's okay. But to waste food? There's just something wrong with you if you're doing that, if you're wasting food. There's hungry people out there that don't have the money to have access to that food. Yet here you are, wasting it. Because you know, at the end of the day, most likely or not, those business owners, it won't occur to them to give it away. Some may not. So it will end up in the trash. And I hope for their sake that they put it in at least a baggie or something where homeless can do a dumpster dive and it'll be in good conditions. At the very least. I'd rather them give them directly to the homeless, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And see, that's part of the reason why I go through the depressions, which, by the way, this individual that I talked about in the morning threw it in my face, that I go through depressions every few weeks. Not knowing that he's part of the reason why I have those depressions, because this particular individual, you can't tell him anything without him blowing a gasket. Just yesterday, I was sweeping the kitchen. He's the only one who eats oatmeal, and there was oatmeal between this one table where we have the TV that's right next to a wall. There was oatmeal all over the place right there. And he's the only one who eats it. And I'm basically cleaning after him. I don't get paid for that. You know, I'm tired of basically cleaning up for other people, physically and metaphorically. Of stepping in and rolling up my shoulder, my sleeve, I mean. Of stepping to the side and being more considerate than the asshole who's not paying attention when walking down the street. Having to struggle with 2 dogs every time a clueless fuck is walking like I'm not even there. Who instead of moving to the side is basically walking straight towards me. Not giving a fuck that I have 2 dogs and that animals, like kids, are almost impossible to control. I'm tired of that. And the previous version of me would be ranting and raving every single time like a fucking Karen. And I'm tired of that too. So that's where I'm at right now, that I don't know how to set my boundaries without having to sound like a broken record, much less blowing up at people because, well, I bottled it because it, quote unquote, it wasn't worth it. And it wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth it until it was worth it. See, people say that I'm uptight. I think some people are just too loose. They walk around with such a easygoing back attitude that they have no idea they inconvenience other people, or that they hurt other people's feelings. And when they are called out for it, they act like the victim, and if anything, try to redirect to blame you, making you try to believe that maybe you got it wrong. Gaslighting. You see, it's easy to call someone problematic when they don't play into your games anymore, when they aren't towing the line, when they aren't keeping the peace. And although it's not my job to hold somebody accountable, I'm at the point where it's like, you're inconveniencing me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to inconvenience you because every yin has a yang. There's only so much patience a person can have, especially when behavior is abhorrent from others. And it's amazing and flabbergasting to know that there's people that clutch their pearls when they cross the final line and that person blows up in their face. The level of cluelessness is staggering. To not be self-aware to the point where you're basically delusional about yourself is amazing. It's something that kind of baffles me to this day about humans in general. And knowing that I have gifts that a lot of people don't have, it's baffling because there's some people that have the same kind of trauma as me, but yet they didn't develop the gifts I did, of being so hyper aware that you are self-aware, to know when you are the problem. Because you see, a lot of the times when I did blow up at these individuals, I regretted it right away. But not only that, at some point, as I mentioned to my therapist this past Friday, I came to the conclusion, why does this keep happening to me? And at some point, after picking at it and picking at it and picking at it, I realized I'm adding to the problem. Now, see, that's why now I come to the conclusion that part of the reason why I blow up is because I don't set and keep my boundaries early in the process. I look the other way and let things slide for the benefit of third parties, or to not sound like a broken record, or to make them feel like they are walking on eggshells. But you know what? That gets to a person eventually, of having to bend over backwards to basically kiss another person's ass just for their comfort. You get tired. And I wish whenever these type of encounters would happen, I could speak to those individuals in this manner, calm and cool. But it's something about the pushback that it's like, it triggers me when an individual cannot accept their faults. The lack of accountability is just staggering. It's like, you know you did something wrong. In the case of this individual this morning, you've been snapping on my mom for months now. Now that I call you out to tone it down, that's how I began the conversation. Yes, it wasn't in the most best of tones. I told him, tone it down. He got defensive and started throwing shit at me. I only escalated, of course. But don't you think that, logically speaking, if someone tells you to tone it down, that it would make something click in your head that, hey, you're being a dick, and maybe you should back off, instead of flipping it on the individual and try to gaslight them into believing that they're overreacting, that they are wrong. I don't know about you, I can be very patient, but when you cross that final line, you won't recognize me. It's a dark part of me that for the longest time I try to suppress, and lately it's I sort of embraced it and almost wield it like a sword. Because with some individuals, that's all they understand, the sword. And yes, I could have walked a long time ago, but I'm not going to leave my mother with this individual. If he behaves like that in front of me, I can only imagine what he would do behind closed doors. I'm not a saint either. I've also been a dick to my mother for the very reason that she's put up with these type of individuals, and I've been caught in the crossfires. And even though I'm working on it right now, yes, I still do have some drawbacks where I also snap at her out of sheer desperation of her own stubbornness sometimes. So see, it's not easy to do self-care and self-healing when people make it challenging, but it is possible. You just have to work harder, or if you have the option, leave altogether from those toxic environments. For me, unfortunately, I cannot leave this particular toxic environment because of my mother. Nobody else is stepping up to take care of her. So what am I supposed to do? I think I'll leave it there. I hope this has been of some help to you, that it's made some sense, and that you do not give up. That yes, self-healing is an uphill battle, but eventually you will reach the top of that particular hill and come down the other side much better. I feel personally that I'm almost at the summit of my hill, because it feels like I can start to breathe now. And that is a comfort. And I thank my God above that has kept me sane through all of this and kept me going. You have a good night.